Hopefully this worked. I know I also did another live stream earlier today, so it's looking like it's working here. So gotta love it. Shout outs to YouTube. It finally worked. What's going on, guys? How's it going? If you were here earlier, big salutes. Love seeing you here. If not, that's also fine as well. But I am really stoked. Going to be going through albums of the year, the final video on the channel, the final. This is the cream of the crop here, you know. So I'm really excited to get into it. Honestly, I know I very much said this in the EPs of the year, but it's just been an incredible year for albums. It's hard to always put it into words how difficult it is. And that might be me slightly pandering to what I do here, but it's always fun to put the list together. It's a little bit disorienting sometimes as well, but I love doing it. It honestly puts a lot of pressure on me, but I like the pressure, and I like being able to kind of really navigate some of my favorite albums that came out this year. So, you know, despite the difficulties, I honestly had a fantastic time putting these albums together, literally up to the final hour of doing this. So it's just been a wild ride. So if you guys could let me know what your favorite albums of the year are, or if there was albums that I missed out on that you feel like I should check out, either drop it in the live chat or just, if you're watching this later on, put it in the comments down below. I'm always trying to do my best to put out as much content as possible. I definitely feel like there's some albums that came out last year that I did not check out. Well, I mean, this year. I know we're in... Well, whatever. This is coming out in 2022, and then, you know, in a few days it'll be 2023. But very excited to kind of get into it, and, you know, January is going to kind of be my month to just do, like, fan albums. So, you know, albums that fans have suggested to me and I just haven't had time to listen to. So I'm going to try to do as many as I possibly can within the month of January. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. And if there's any albums you would like me to check out, definitely let me know. I'm trying to do some older albums as well that I haven't listened to. Just, you know, just a fun time all around. But would love to know your albums of the year this year. Certainly was no shortage of great records this year. So wanted to share my personal picks, and as well as just kind of going through, giving you little snippets of each song, kind of talking about the album in somewhat depth, and yeah, very excited. So thank you for joining me, whether you're joining me live or if you're joining me in the past. Always appreciative. And thank you guys for just an amazing year. Before I start, you know, shilling for all of these bands on the list here, I really do want to take the time to thank all of you personally. It's just been an amazing year for Audio Addiction. Arguably, probably one of my favorite years that I've done this. And it's just been... just a wonderful ride, and I don't plan on slowing down by any stretch, but I just want to take the time to thank every one of you. I know I did thank people in the EP review, but I just wanted to thank all of you guys for really supporting what I do and, you know, really caring about what I do, because sometimes I feel like I don't like to do this, but, you know, you guys continue to motivate me to do it. So always much love to everyone. So big salutes to the homies here, whether you're a day oneer or you just found out about my channel yesterday. Always greatly appreciated. But anyway, this year I decided to do 20 of my favorite albums. I could have probably done 22 as a haha, because, you know, it's 2022, but I decided not to do that for reasons I don't know. But I did do 5 honorable mentions and 20 picks for albums of the year. So we're going to go through the honorable mentions first, because I'm very excited to get into those. So the first one on the list is, if I can pull up my thing here, is Secret's newest album, The Collapse. It came out a little bit earlier this year, and I really loved it. Big shout outs to Rich. I had him on probably about 4 or 5 months ago now, maybe a little bit before that point. But he was fantastic and really just a wonderful soul. So I've met Rich a handful of times, but it was really cool interviewing him. And honestly, I wish we had a little bit longer to talk because it would have went on for who knows how long. But it was a great time. So big shouts to Rich. Love that dude. Love Secrets. Always a crowd favorite here at Audio Addiction. But anyway, the song that I picked off of Secret's newest album, The Collapse, my personal favorite was Bad Decisions. I think that one came out super well, and I loved just the sort of angstiness of this track. Definitely reminds me of like old school like Wage War, but then you like throw Rich's vocals on it, and it's just like chef's kiss. So we love it. I absolutely dug this record. I wish I had given it more time, honestly, because I feel like I did not give it as much love as it should have been given, but I wanted to add it onto my list because I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really stellar metalcore record that I don't think it ended up on too many people's lists, but it was one that stuck around for me personally. So I am going to give you a little snippet of Bad Decisions right now, like a little 10-second hit, you know what I'm saying? So let's give it a listen. Just like that run at the end, oh, chef's kiss. Like if you've been a Secrets fan for a while, you already know I absolutely love what they're doing. But yeah, that little run just was great. The song, I feel like the chorus does not give a justice to this song, and I was trying to find like the best 10-second clips of each of the songs, but I just love the chorus. I think Rich sounds so fantastic on it, and I felt like if I didn't personally include the chorus here, then it wouldn't have been as successful, I think. But the screaming on this, done by Wade, I think he was such a great fit to Secrets when he initially joined, and I think he continues to impress me as a screamer. Very underrated, and this whole album was really good. I kind of, again, feel bad it wasn't as listened to as much in my camp here, but maybe I'll listen to it a little bit more when I have some more time. So definitely give Secrets, The Collapse a listen. I had to throw it on the list, even if it being closer to the end, but definitely dug this one. So we're going to move it on to my second honorable mention, which is shout outs to the boys in Rain City Drive. They released their self-titled album this year. It was really fantastic as well. If you're more into the like alternative like pop kind of more, I guess it's kind of like pop rock, maybe a little bit of post-hardcore influence in there. I know some of their previous material was definitely more post-hardcore based. This kind of feels like more of a middle ground between the sort of pop and post-hardcore sort of feel going on here, but absolutely love it. I think, again, very similarly to Secrets, I think that Matt is a fantastic fit in the band, and while I felt like their previous album was solid, I think that their self-titled, this record, is by far their best work to date. I think Matt feels a lot more comfortable in singing on these songs, as well as just like I think the songwriting aspect of it has gotten so much better for them, which is really great. As well as that too, I will also say just like the whole musicianship of the band, I think, is just leveled up. So definitely loved this band a ton. Again, I listened to this album a ton when it came out, but I don't want to say I fell off. I still listen to it from time to time, but this album specifically was really, really good, and I don't feel like it got enough love out there as well, but I absolutely love it, and big shout outs to Thriller Records. They have been treating me very good this year, so big salutes to them. My personal favorite song off the self-titled is one of the singles. It was Cutting It Close. I just think the run that Matt does in that first chorus is just, it just sends me, and I absolutely dig that. He's got a great voice. All of the songs on the album are really well put together, but I felt like this one just hit that like sort of rock, like post-hardcore feel. So definitely dig this one. We'll give it a little bit of we'll give it a little spin here. So let's give Cutting It Close a listen.
We're cutting it close, how we at the end of our road. I don't wanna see the flames fall.
All right, there we go. Give a little taste. Also, big shout outs to my man Zach. I love that dude so much. Miss you, man. I don't know if you're gonna watch this, but big salutes to Zach. He's my guy. But yeah, absolutely love Rain City Drive. I also did an interview with them earlier in the year as well, so if you have an opportunity to check that out, would definitely go do it. Was a great time, and love their Rain City Drive boys. So I'm going to move it on to the next pick. I think this might shock a lot of people, but this is going to be Dayseeker, Dark Sun. The song I picked, obviously, is the heaviest song off the album Neon Grave. So I feel like I have some explaining to do. So I did really love Dark Sun. I do feel, however, with what they're doing, I can see why they have ultimately decided to go in that sort of more like alt direction. It was very clear that Rory did not want to do heavier music anymore, and not to front the band at all, like I still think that they will have a couple heavy songs on records going further, but I feel like this is more of the gray area between his project that he does with, I believe, their bass player, that is called Hurt Wave. I think that that's a great project, and this kind of feels like the middle ground between Dayseeker and Hurt Wave, and I'm just curious if there's ever going to be like where the lines are going to be blurred so much where you're not going to be able to tell what's a Hurt Wave song and what's a Dayseeker song. I know that probably will not happen just because, again, the way that the bands work and the sort of energy that is involved with each one, but I didn't feel like this album really hit after I listened to it. I still listened to it a ton after I initially did my first review of the album. But I don't know. There was something about it that just didn't stick with me as much as I thought that Sleep Talk did. Like, Sleep Talk had that nice balance of heaviness, but also there was a great like melody to it as well. And it didn't feel like they were feeding into two different camps where like one was like, oh, okay, I'm in it for the soft songs. And the other ones, I'm in it for the heavier songs. Granted, I have been a Dayseeker fan since like day one. So I really love the older stuff that they've done. And I felt like Sleep Talk, while it was very catchy, I still found a lot of songs that I loved on that album. With Dark Sun, I think that this one is a little bit more melancholy, a little bit more soft, and that's totally fine. I think that they hit that super well. I still think Rory is a fantastic vocalist. I still think Dayseeker is a fantastic band. If you ever have an opportunity to see them live, I would definitely go do it. But this one just didn't resonate as much as I thought it was going to post review, and that's kind of, it's a little sad, but I'm always open, always listening, and I'm going to look forward to the next Dayseeker record, much like everybody else is. But I'd really like to find more of that balance between like the heaviness and the more melodicness. I think there was I would argue that like maybe 70% of the album was more on that sort of melodic side, and I would argue like the other 30% kind of had that mix of heaviness in it. Neon Grave being one of the more standout tracks to me. Another one I really enjoyed was Crying While You're Dancing. I thought that was a fantastically written like dark pop song, and while I feel like in the grand scheme of what they do, I think it fits very well with their current sound. Me personally, I'm more on the fan of the heavier stuff. So Neon Grave, fits that line super well. And I'm going to give you a little taste of Neon Grave. Hopefully YouTube is a little bit more polite with me, and we'll see. We'll see what happens, but here we go. Well, there you go. That's Neon Grave. If you didn't take a listen to Neon Grave before this point, I would definitely do it, as well as Dark Sun. I don't want to feel like I'm totally like dogging on this album, because I do really like it. I still really enjoy it. I just feel like it's more of an album to chill out to, as opposed to and get me in my feels, as opposed to previous Dayseeker records. Still fantastic. Still love Rory. Big salutes. And yeah, that's where Dayseeker ended up on my list here. Yeah, so we're going to move it on to the next one, which is my second honorable mention, and it is going to be Valley Heart, Heal My Head. Had the great pleasure of interviewing the boys in Valley Heart. Really dug them a ton. I think they really hit that indie rock stride super well. Almost like piano kind of rock. Definitely reminds me of bands like Keen, The Fray, things of that nature. I felt like this was an album that came at me at the wrong time. I still really like it a lot. But I just feel like, I'm more into the heavier music this year. There is some variation to that. I feel like I got more into like pop punk and stuff like that, and kind of more like post-hardcore bands. And I felt like Valley Heart, not that they are particularly a bad band, absolutely love them. I just felt like this album specifically was just a little bit more melancholy than what I've typically been listening to this year. But don't want to discount the musicality of it. Absolutely loved Heal My Head. I think it is a fantastic indie record, and if it's a band you haven't checked out yet, I would highly recommend doing it. The musicality is uncapped, and loved talking to Kevin. He was a great homie to speak with. Really wish I could have went out and seen them, but unfortunately I think I was doing something that night, so I couldn't do it. But I will definitely be seeing Valley Heart again, and just wanted to give them a salute, give them a shouts, because I do feel like they very much deserve to be on this list, because they did put out an awesome record. So my favorite track off the album is Your Favorite Jacket, and we'll give a little 10 minute, not 10 minutes, 10-second burst of this song. So let's give it a listen.
Left in the catacombs, with a hand on my heart and a part of me drowning in a palindrome.
Like, oh, it's just so dreamy. I love the just like the nice piano going on in the background. Just Kevin's voice is just chef's kiss. We love it. And just the instrumentation. Like, this is the type of music that I really kind of like gravitate towards. Like, the bands that I'm a huge fan of Transit, so this kind of reminds me a little bit in that Transit lane. Obviously Transit being more like Midwest emo, but you could kind of find the difference between those two. But yeah, wanted to include Valley Heart on this list because I do feel like on any other given day, this would be a little bit higher up on the list. But as of right now, Valley Heart will remain in the honorable mentions. But I, again, wanted to give a salute and big shouts to Kev. Love that dude. But my last honorable mention, this might surprise some people as well, but I had put the Callous Dow Boys' newest album, Celebrity Therapist. The song that I have of choice for tonight is The Elephant Man in the Room. I thought this was a really, really, really great record. However, it was a little bit too crazy for me. I like mathcore, but I feel like bands like this are a little bit, I want to say, out of pocket for me, because I do like the musicality of it. I just think it's just like the perfect album for like reactions and to kind of elicit those things. I know that's probably not intentional or the reasons why they create these albums, but I felt like I could only listen to this album like in a burst. Like, I could listen to it and be like, oh, sorry, mic stand. Sorry, I actually whacked it. But anyway, I do feel like this album specifically was just one that you can listen to in like short periods of time. I don't feel like I could be like absolutely jamming this album a ton of times. I feel like I would go nuts. But I do want to give it an honorable mention because I think it is probably one of the most entertaining albums of the year. Just for the sheer fact of like what the hell is going on here. I think they're unlike any other band right now, and like I said, wanted to give them the love that they deserve, because certainly I don't know if any, I know there was a few people that I saw in terms of albums of the years list that included them on there, and I felt, again, I would feel remiss if I did not at least mention the Callous Boys, because it was a really great record, just maybe kind of didn't hit me the same way that as I thought it was going to. I'm going to give you a little snippet of the Elephant Man in the Room, so hopefully you enjoy this. Again, I will preface that this song has so many layers to it, so only giving you a 10-second clip of this band is not going to do them any sort of justice, so I would definitely recommend giving a listen to all of these songs. I'll leave all of the links and all that stuff in the description after this is done being live, because I don't want you guys to cheat and take a look at my answers. So not that there's a test or anything, but we're going to give a little bit of a listen to the Elephant Man in the Room, so let's give it some spins. Like, how do you classify that? I'm just saying, like, it's very difficult. So great band, love what they're doing, and I definitely am excited to see them on tour with Drugs and Varials, and I think it's 156 Silence. Very excited. That's going to be a fantastic tour, and if you're in Philly, say what's up to me, because I will definitely be going out to that one. Very excited. But now we're getting into the real deal, the real McCoy, the real stuff, and is going to be my 20th pick. Gotta add the Boys onto the list. I've been spinning this album a ton at the gym recently, and it just barely snuffed its way into albums of the year, just because, God, they're such a talented band, and big salutes to my boys in Enox. They put out a fantastic album. It's called Euphoria. Had the lovely privilege of doing a live track by track with them. So if you would like to check that out, feel free to. But yeah, I picked my personal favorite off the album, which is Eclipse. I just think that this, while may not represent the band the best, I think musically it is one of my favorites. The other one being the last track, which is Convulsions. That one was also really good as well. But I think Eclipse really just hits that nice stride point of like progressive metalcore, and that's what you know your boy is about here on the channel. So gonna give you a little snippet, a little clippy of Eclipse. And if you haven't checked out Enox, definitely go check them out. They're a fantastic band, and you will not be disappointed. So here's a little 10-second clippy. Like, sick. It, like, super rhythmic, super punchy. Gotta love it. Like, man, this band just rips, and I'm so humbled and proud to be homies with all of them. So, it just makes me tear up. But yeah, I absolutely dig this band. They are awesome, and they deserve your love. So go give the boys in Enoch some love. So we're gonna move on to my 19th pick. This one is going to be, drumroll please, Boundaries. My body is the song is My Body is a Cage. The album is called Burying Brightness. Want to give a shout outs to my boy Jared. He was the one who recommended me to check out this band, and I absolutely was floored that A, I had not checked them out, B, why I didn't check this album out sooner, and C, now they're a fan of Boundaries, you know. So I think that this band is nuts. If you haven't listened to Boundaries, I'm gonna give you a little snippet of it. So I don't even know what I was trying to say there. Honestly, I'm losing my mind here. But really enjoyed this one. My Body is a Cage. When I was listening to this on stream, it just hits. And every time I listen to this song, it's just like a 16-ton truck, man. This song hits so hard, and there was no way that this album wouldn't make it up on my list. I will say I'm surprised at how low it was, because I did really enjoy this record a lot, but I do feel like there was albums that represented my taste a little bit more, and I felt like Boundaries, just because I had gotten a recommendation for it, not that it lessens my value of the band, but it was maybe just like I was just like, oh, okay, I like Boundaries, but didn't really kind of like actively know the band prior to this point. Like I feel like with some of the other ones, I like found out about them and I was just like hooked. This band was just kind of like served on a platter to me, and I actually did like them, so that was really cool. But yeah, My Body Is a Cage, fantastic song, and again, also a album you should go check out if you haven't already. The album is Burying Brightness, so I'm gonna give you a little clip of the breakdown. So let's give this bad boy a spinny. Like, how do you not love that? That is just like brutal. So the rest of the album, I want to say the rest of the album is, it's kind of like a mix. I don't want to fully say it's like extremely like heavy like that, but I would say a large majority of the songs are kind of in that sort of heaviness. But yeah, definitely like this one a ton. And I was glad it made my top 20 because it is well worth the love it deserves, certainly. So we're going to move it on to the next band, which again, I think I'm gonna surprise a lot of people with this one, because I don't think that many people know about this band, and B, I hope that this everybody goes and checks this band out because they're awesome. But I have been listening to this album on repeat since it released, and then I've been getting into it more recently. Shout out to my cousin Matt. I told him to go check this out, and I have been following up with my reasoning to go check it out. So I've also been listening to it a ton recently as well. But the band is Modern Error, and the album is called Victim of a Modern Age. The song of choice that I have picked is Error of the World. And the best way that I could describe this band to you guys is it's kind of like as if you took Under Oath, but instead of the main focus being most of the vocals, I would say a lot more of the focus would be on the sort of electronic elements. So if you've ever wanted to have more electronics in an Under Oath-esque song, Modern Error is the band to check out, certainly. Victim of a Modern Age was just a chef's kiss album. I think they really found this incredible midpoint between post-hardcore and electronic music, and not in like electronic core fashion. I just really feel like they took a lot of elements of like really great synths and like a great post-hardcore backbone and just smashed them together, and it sounds fantastic. Error of the World was probably one of the more catchier songs off the album, but the whole album is really, really great. And if you enjoy like kind of the more synth-laden, like ethereal elements of like a Loathe, then or like a Love Is Noise, you're definitely gonna dig this band a ton. Even like a little bit of Static Dress too as well. I know that Modern Error is also from the UK as well, but great band. I know it's not going to be on most people's list, but I wanted to add them on here because I do feel like they put an absolutely fantastic record out, and it's going to fly under a lot of people's radar. So hopefully this gives them a little bit more traffic, but absolutely dug the song. So we're going to give you a little bit of a snippet of the chorus, I believe, of Error of the World. So let's give a little 10-second clip. Like, oh, it sounds great. And like the rest of the like album kind of has that similar sort of aesthetic and vibe and stuff. But yeah, it perfectly, I feel like, encapsulates post-hardcore and like that sort of like heavily synth-laden music. So wanted to include them on the list as well. So big salutes to Modern Error. I would love to have them on the channel in the new year, so maybe I'll have to hit them up to come on. But yeah, they're fantastic. Also shout outs to Rude Records. They're awesome too. They have a lot of great bands on there, so go give them some love as well. Speaking about UK bands, ironically enough, I also have included Static Dress here on the list. How can you not? They have skyrocketed in popularity, as well as just being a fantastic band to boot as well. If you have not checked out Rogue Carpet Disaster, 10 out of 10 would recommend checking it out. If you ever have wondered what a great post-hardcore band would sound like modernized, this is like arguably one of the best versions of a post-hardcore band out there right now. Just doing some really great shit, and wanted to give some love to Road Carpet Disaster. I don't feel like I gave this album enough listens. I have been listening to it a ton more recently, so I feel like it in that aspect has made it up the list a little bit more. But God, it's such a great record, and I really love what they're doing, and I'm so glad that they were on that Low tour. I was really upset because I didn't get to see them, and I'm hoping that next time I'll be able to go out and go see Static Dress, because I've heard nothing but good things, and I was very stoked because they did do a one-time off show in Philly a couple weeks ago with Kaunashi. Big salutes to those guys, love those dudes. But I was sick, so I couldn't go, and I'm not trying to get other people sick. So, but yeah, I wanted to give this album some love because it is certainly awesome. And I did find out, I believe the guitar player for Loathe also produced this record, so it's probably another reason why I really enjoy it. But yeah, gonna give you my personal favorite song off the album, which is Lie Solution. I believe this is like closer to the end of the song. I don't know if it would be considered the breakdown, but definitely like a bridge or ending. So I'll give you a little 10-second moment of the song. Like, oh, it sounds so good. Oh, I'm Static Dress, man. I don't really have any words for this band, and I'm so glad that like a lot of these great UK bands are finally making it over to the States. I feel the pain of people who live in Europe and are like, man, I wish these great US bands would come through. So, it's always going to be like that. But yeah, I wanted to give a salute to Static Dress. I could not have this list without having Static Dress on here. So big salutes to them. So we're going to move it on to the next one, which is my 16th pick, and it's going to be Gloom in the Corner, and it is their album Trinity. My personal favorite song was Obliteration Imminent. This one features Pim of Reclia. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. I'm just really bad at pronunciating things, so don't mind me. But this album was insane. I still think it's very insane. I would probably kind of put it in, I don't know if I would put it in the same sort of category as I put the Callous Dow Boys record, because I feel like this one is like, I want to say, this is going to sound terrible to say, but I'm just going to come out and say it how I'm going to say it. But I would argue that this album is more listenable because it's a little bit not as mathcore-y, and this is a little bit more straightforward. However, there is a lot going on, and I think there's a lot more story aspects to it, so I feel like just kind of giving a one-song recommendation is not really enough in my books. I would definitely recommend checking out Trinity as a whole, especially if you're into like more like nerdy stuff like lore and like kind of great storylines. They do a great job of putting all of these characters into a story, and somehow it is an insanely like effective like metalcore record as a whole too. So really enjoyed this. I know that I had this when I originally reviewed it, had it pretty high up on my list of being one of my favorite albums of this year. But I feel like upon multiple listens of Trinity and picking up the vinyl, I really like it. I still really think it's a fantastic album. But I think the repeat value can be a little bit interesting in that aspect, where I think the storyline still holds up super well, but sometimes I wish there was maybe a little bit more variation, or and there's not to say there's not a decent amount of variation going on within the album, but I think that there was just more albums that I could just go back and know as soon as I press play that I can just like speed run through them and just continue to listen to it. I feel like this one requires a little bit more attention to detail, and so that's why I might end up a little bit lower on this list, but I still wanted to give it the love it deserves because I think it's great. But we're going to give you a little bit of I think this is the breakdown on Obliteration Imminent featuring Monique Pym. So let's give it a spin. Yeah, so it's like if you're, it kind of reminds me, I'm trying to think of what it could remind me of. It kind of feels like the Deer Hunter if they were a metalcore band. Like, if they were like a prog metalcore band, this is what I feel like the Deer Hunter would be writing, So, if you're into really great storylines, really good songwriting as a whole, I think objectively as a music collective and having a bunch of different vocalists on a majority of this album and really making them work together in harmony, I think that's the biggest achievement of this album. Not only the story writing being really well put together, but having I don't know how many features they had. I'm gonna guess it was somewhere in the I think there's 12 tracks on the album, so there's at least 12 features on this album, and I think that they find a spot for each one, and it's cool. It's cool to see that, and I don't even want to know how they got in the process of having everybody on an album like this because it just sounds nuts in practice. But I wanted to again give the salutes to Gloom in the Corner because. Again, I didn't really feel like it was on a lot of people's lists, and arguably one of the craziest metalcore releases of this year too. So big salutes to the Gloom in the Corner. Would love to have these crazy Aussies on the channel. So guys, if you watch this, would love to have you on. Hopefully sooner than later. But the next one on my list, this is going to, again, I feel like I have a lot of curveball picks because I try to listen to stuff that I know that I haven't listened to in a while, or bands that I really just enjoy a ton that maybe I didn't review over this year, because there was a ton on here that I didn't review, and I just absolutely beat some of these albums into the ground. But the next choice that I have here is big salutes to the Japanese band Cold Rain. Their album Non-Negative was just a masterclass in hard rock and I guess alt rock kind of. I guess it's alt hard rock almost. Even some post-hardcore elements. I am no stranger to loving this band. I think that they heavily fly under a lot of people's radar, and they put out heat after heat album. I don't know how many albums this band has done, but I've genuinely enjoyed every album that they've put out, and they are a J hard rock metal whatever force that needs to be checked out more. I saw a handful, maybe a little bit less, of people that checked out this album, so I'm genuinely hoping that people give Non-Negative a listen. They did a cover of Don't Speak on this album, and it sounds awesome. It's everything I've ever wanted in that song and in a cover of this song, so I would have put that on this list, but I wanted to actually put an actual Cold Rain original song here. The song that I have chosen tonight is Calling. I think this one is the best representation of Cold Rain. It has that perfect mix of great vocals from, I think it's Matteo, or I forget his name. I am so bad. So Cold Rain, if you watch this, I apologize. But yeah, this album was so good, and I have been listening to it so much recently, and I'm glad that it has made it onto my list and breaking the top 15. I think it is a J-rock band that should be represented. I know One OK Rock is currently seeing their limelight right now because they were a part of the Sonic Frontiers album, but man, this is another J-rock band that you need to check out. So I'm going to give you a little snippet of Calling here. So let's give it a listen.
This is the calling. Nothing can stop us.
Like, oh my god, like the layering, the great clean singing, unmatched. I think again, Cold Rain is such a fantastic band that I hope again. My hope is that some of these more like obscure picks, I hope people give these a listen because, whew, God, Cold Rain, man, they're fantastic, flying under a lot of people's radar. So big salutes to them, love them. Would love to have them on. I feel like that one might be a little bit more difficult since I think their vocalist does speak English, so maybe that might happen. So very excited, but we'll have to find out. My next album of choice here on the list is going to be He Is Legend and their album Endless Hallway. Shout outs to my boy Nick. Love that dude. We did a live reaction review of the album Endless Hallway. I will say, and this is not to incriminate me at all, but I never really listened to He Is Legend as a band. I felt like they were always one that I kind of overlooked, and Nick had convinced me to take a listen to Endless Hallway because he was like, man, this album's going to be really good. So I just decided, hey, what the hell, I'll invite him on to come on and talk about the album. But I absolutely loved this album a ton. I think that this, again, a lot of people slept on this album. Kind of a little pissed off that not enough people checked this one out because I can imagine there's going to be so many people that enjoyed this album, would have enjoyed this album and would have added it onto their list because it was like the perfect mix of like heavy music. It had a little bit of like the southern metal kind of feel to it. It was just an unreal record. So I wanted to, again, add this onto my list because I think that, again, much like Cold Rain, as I mentioned earlier, this album did not get any sort of traction. So I'm hoping that people give this one a listen because I did get a ton of comments saying like, I'm glad people were reviewing this album because it's so good. So big salutes to He Is Legend. They're awesome. They've been doing it for a hell of a long time, and I'm glad that they're doing it. What's going on, Earthbound and Hopeless? He said, or she said, hey, I missed it. I was busy making dinner. It's all good. Well, listen, we're like a couple songs into top 15. So, you still got a little bits to go, but I do appreciate you showing up. So much salutes. But yeah, I'm going to give a little bit of a taste of Return to the Garden. This one was arguably one of my favorite songs off the album. I think it had the perfect mix of like melodicness, but also heaviness. So definitely enjoyed this one a ton. This, I believe, is the chorus. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, this one is Return to the Garden. So I'll give a little snippet. Like the dark riffs, oh, it's so tight. Big salutes to He Is Legend. If you want to check out the full review, I would highly recommend just going onto the page and taking a look for it. I think now YouTube has a live tab, which I think is really cool. So you can check all of the live videos I do. But yeah, this one, underrated album. I hope that most people after watching this will go check them out because, God, they put out a stellar record this year. So big salutes to He Is Legend, and the album is Endless Hallway. So we're going to move it on to my 13th pick. This one is going to be Mood Ring and their album Stargazer. This track I have chosen for you tonight is Disintegrate. If you've I just want to talk for a second about like shoegaze metal and how it's seeing such a resurgence. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh my God, this band sounds like Deftones. Or if you don't know what Deftones is, oh my God, this band sounds like Loathe. I don't really care if they kind of have a similar sound or whatever. I just think the musicality of what's going on is just fantastic. This band has just such a cool sound. I love the vibes. I also just love that it's really like ethereal, really kind of like, again, the dark pop vibes are strong on this track, as well as, again, I know people are going to definitely say that this band has a strong Deftones influence, and I wouldn't disagree with them on that. But I love this sort of shoegazy metal and how it's seeing more of a resurgence within the scene right now. And I couldn't be remiss in leaving Mood Ring off this list. I have been listening to this album a ton at the gym, but B, I think it's just a really catchy metal record, and I think that sometimes can be pretty hard to come by, and I think that they hit that nice stride of having heavy songs and then also having songs like this that are a little bit more on that sort of beautiful end of the scale, just a little bit more melodic, ethereal, and I just think it works with the overall sound. So definitely like this one. Again, we're going to give you a little snippet of Disintegrate, my personal favorite off Stargazer. So let's give this boy a spin. So good. Like, it's just like, you know, like if you know it's a good song, if you can like instinctually just like bob your head, you know, it's just got that sort of like chill, just like metal sort of vibe, and I absolutely love them. I love what they're doing. Very excited to see what they have coming up next, because I think they again are a very underrated band, and I'm glad to see it on some people's lists. Wish it was a little bit higher here on my personal list, but I feel like there was more albums on this list that I gave a little bit more love, unfortunately. Earthbound and Hopeless said, I just started listening to these guys recently. They definitely got a nice sound going on. 100% glad that they are just absolutely killing it. I know that they were on tour. I don't think they came anywhere close to where I live in PA, but next time I see Mood Ring, and if it's coming anywhere close to where I live, you know your boy's going to go out and see Mood Ring. So big salutes to them. I think my friend, shout out to my friend Dan. I think he's the one who recommended me this band, or he had posted like a post about it. And also my friend Brad, who runs New Fury. I saw him post about Mood Ring pretty early on, and want to give him a salute because this dude, Brad, he is always on it with new bands. So love Brad. Shout outs to him and New Fury. They're awesome. The next album I have on my list, this one is album 12. This one's going to be Ocean's 8 Alaska Disparity. Surprised this is not on most people's list, because this is arguably Ocean's 8 Alaska's best body of work. I really did think that their incorporations of electronics and that process going into this album, just chef's kiss. I also think that Chris Turner, their drummer, is an absolute robot. I don't think he's human, and I just want to take the time to say that I think he's part cyborg, to be fair, because this man, I don't know how he does it. I legitimately do. I question my sanity every day listening to some of his drum parts, and I'm not even a drummer, so that should mean a lot. But yeah, this album, Disparity, don't feel like a lot of people check this one out. I don't know if there's a lot of like love out there for Ocean's 8 Alaska. I hope there is, because this album ripped. My personal favorite song off the album was Paradigm. I think it had that perfect blend of that like lo-fi electronic beats, and then also just having some like gnarly breakdowns. So big salutes to Ocean 8 Alaska. I would give the entire album a listen from front to back. It is fantastic. If you also go to the gym, also a gym banger as well, so go give that one a listen. But yeah, this one, unreal album. Again, much deserved on the list here, and I'm going to give you a little snippet. I think this is slightly after the breakdown, if I'm not mistaken. So let's give this Paradigm a listen. We'll give a little 10-second clip. Oh, no, it's the breakdown stuff. But yeah, if you are a drummer in any capacity, you need to check this album out if you haven't. Chris Turner is a monster. I love the fact that they got their old vocalist back, and he's now in Oceans again, because he's gotten so much better since Lost Isles. So love it. Love to see it. And I hope this is just the start of a Ocean's 8 Alaska resurgence. So big love to them. and go give him a listen. Go give Disparity a listen if you haven't already. I believe it is all up on Fearless's YouTube page, so go give it some love. My next choice shouldn't surprise anyone either, but it is Outline and Color's newest album, The Coast, or not The Coast is Clear. Coast is Clear. I absolutely fell in love with this album, and I have not stopped listening to it since it's been released. I picked up the vinyl, so that's how you know it's a serious issue here. But it's so infectious, so catchy. It's got heaviness to it, and I think it just hits that perfect metalcore like hole for me. You know, it's just got like the perfect mix of everything going on. It's got a little bit of post-hardcore influence. They have one song that's a little bit more of a punk beat sort of song. It's just got variety to it, and I think that it's an album that I thought I was going to get tired of, but every time I listen to this album, I just fall deeper into the hole of Outline and Color, and I absolutely dig it. The song that I have chosen for you guys tonight is Quicksand. This one features Michael Swank. He used to be in the band Michael Relocate, but now he's in the band Foxera, so go give Michael Swank some love. He's also great too. Glad he's still doing the music thing because he's a fantastic vocalist. Earthbound and Hopeless said his solo album was great. I agree. His solo album was also good. But I just think this Ocean's 8 Alaska album was just rocking. But yeah, Outline and Color. This song is called Quicksand. Gonna give you a little bit of, I think this is the breakdown as well. So you know your boy loves a good breakdown. So we're gonna give you a little bit more of that. So you already know that's the ending of the song. It just hits like a truck. But yeah, I think that album had just like the perfect mix of every sort of metalcore and post-hardcore genre wrapped into a nice little package and boxed up. So loved this album, loved going through it on stream as well. But I definitely feel like this is one of the stronger like post-hardcore-ish, metalcore-ish albums of the year. So that's why it's pretty high up on the list. So getting into top 10, the real deal territory. I know this is where either I'm going to like completely obliterate my fan base, or who knows, maybe I might actually, who knows. I'm going to find out later when this video is uploaded and is not live. But my next choice may surprise some people, but may also not surprise people. But I had put in Action Adventure's newest album on this list, Imposter Syndrome. I had them on a couple months ago, and I had listened to Imposter Syndrome a ton before having them on, and I have not stopped listening to this album since I've had them on. I probably listened to this album at least 2 or 3 times a week, and considering how many albums I go through, that's a pretty high mark here. So if you are remotely a fan of easycore music, this is the album to check out. I think that they just find that just great middle ground of having some great pop punk hooks, great breakdowns, and then on top of that, I think that I love the dual vocalist setup as well. But I think each song in its own right is like super catchy, unique, and it has this kind of like OG sort of easycore sound. So I wouldn't say it's like, it kind of is like maybe like an old school kind of 4 Year Strong sort of vibe going on here. So if you do love 4 Year Strong, there's almost a very good guarantee you're going to love this band. I also love the fact that they just kind of incorporate some more like metalcore-esque things going on in their album. I feel like this song specifically doesn't have as much metalcore influence other than maybe like the cool little like riffy kind of like breakdown guitar part. I thought that was really solid, but I know this is on no one's list right now, and it should be because it is well worth your time, well worth your listen. And I'm going to be picking the song of Frozone, True King of the North. First of all, love the song reference. It's a clever play on words for the Prada record, which was Reptar, King of the Ozone Layer. So love the I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it kind of reminds me of that. So they'll have to let me know if that's the case or not. But I absolutely love action adventure. So I'm going to give you a little snippet of the chorus, the last chorus on Frozone, True King of the North, and hopefully you guys like it. So give it a spin.
Looking for the perfect fit, burning out, I just can't get a grip, but I can't bring myself to quit, so show me something I haven't seen. I'm feeling like a pixel jet.
It's just so good. It's like riffy, bouncy, fun. Everything I expect a good easy core record to come out of. So Imposter Syndrome, this one I already bought and I'm very excited for it to get shipped to me. So big salutes to Action Adventure. They're a great band and I know for a fact they're going to fly under a lot of people's radar. So go give them some love. Go check out this album. It is well worth your time, as I mentioned before. So we're going to move it on to album number 9, which is going to be Thornhill's newest album, Heroin. Could not be remiss of having this in my top 10. I remember listening to it an absolute butt ton when it came out, and kind of fell off a little bit, but then got back into it more recently. And God, this album is such a cool vibe setter. I still think that their other album, the one before this one, Dark Pool, I still think that one is personally a better album for me. I like that one a lot more. I think there's absolutely no skips on that album. I think is pretty practically close to a perfect album for me. However, Heroin, I really enjoyed this one a lot. I think there are certain songs that just kind of don't hit as well as I thought they would. I would say like Valentine was a little bit of a like slow kind of like I want to say like a droney ballad sort of song, but it kind of feels like that a little bit. And some of the like songs at the end, like Varsity Heart, was a little bit interesting. I don't think it's bad, but I think that no offense to Dayseeker, who I mentioned earlier, I think that Dayseeker can take a lot of cues from Thornhill, because I think they had enough heavy songs on this album to make it heavy, but then they also had enough cool cool songs on the album that aren't heavy but still had a really great sort of melodic feel. And I think they had songs that hit that nice balance in between those two things, being like more melodic and also heavy. So I think that Thornhill absolutely smashed it out of the park with this album, and I am not surprised it is high on people's list because it's well deserved. It is a fantastic album. My personal favorite song off the album is Casanova. It's just got that like, that Justin Timberlake sort of like pop vibe in the vocals with like some screaming in it, but then like it also reminds me of like Matt Bellamy of Muse. I know that they've said that they did not listen to a ton of Muse, which is very surprising to me because it definitely has a large Muse influence. But absolutely dug the song. The riffs on here are fantastic, and it just got like that it's just got that great like vibe to it. So big salutes to Thornhill. I'll give you a little snippet of Casanova if you have not heard it before. Like, just peak heaviness, also peak musicality. I absolutely loved Heroin, so big salutes to Thornhill. Again, had to add them onto the list here. It wouldn't be an Audio Addiction album of the year if it did not include some bit of Thornhill. So big salutes to them. The next one I have on my list should be no surprise to anybody because I really love this album, but is Counterparts, the eulogy for those still here. I don't know what else to tell you that I didn't already say in my live reaction / review of the album. Counterparts stay winning. I would argue this is probably their best work to date. I think it has the best mix of heaviness and keeping true to the formula of what Counterparts does well. I love the fact that this album includes more clean singing. I think it is really great. And it would be hard for me to not include this in the top 10 by any stretch because it is well worth your time. If you have not listened to Counterparts, this is, like, I would argue the best album to get into, and then maybe going back further and listening to the other ones. But Counterparts is just on top right now, and I'm so happy because this album absolutely shreds. And if you are a drummer, a guitar player, or a bass player, like, this is chef's kiss, playground, whatever you want to call it. Like, riffs for days, drum fills for days, bass riffing for days. It's got it all wrapped up in a great album. I can't even put it into words. I remember after the stream, I was just so stoked at how great this album was. Well worth the wait, well worth the listen, and I absolutely dig it. The song that I have chosen is Flesh to Fill Your Wounds. I'm pretty sure I have given you guys the breakdown section of this song, so you know it's going to be hidden. But before we hit the breakdown part, I'm going to read this comment here. It says, I don't know exactly why, but this new Thornhill album just hasn't settled in any way for me yet. Loved the album before this one. I think, to be completely fair to the Thornhill record, I do feel like it does take a couple listens to really get into, but I think once I kind of understood that they didn't want to make like Dark Pool 2.0, I was kind of stoked that they went in this direction and it went like a little bit different. Obviously I absolutely love the fact that, Thornhill is just out there still killing it. But I do feel like all of the singles were really great on the Thornhill album. And I think some of the songs that were not singles were also good as well. There was some, again, that were just maybe a little bit off for me personally, but I think a large brushstroke of the whole album was really good. Earthbound and Hopeless also said there's not a single album that I haven't gotten front to back on for weeks and months. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe I read this wrong. There's not a single album that I haven't gone front to back for on weeks and months and loved every bit of it. Are you referring to this Counterparts album, Earthbound? I just need to clarify. Either that or it's the Thornhill record, which is what I was just talking about. But getting back into Counterparts again, I'm so glad that they're seeing every bit of ounce of love, because this album is everything that I knew Counterparts could be as a band, and I think that they put it very well into this album. I know it's not in top 5, which is what I imagine most people would probably put this in, but I do feel like there were certain albums that just hit just a little bit more, but I know that I would argue that at least top 10 for me are pretty interchangeable, but I would say just for the sake of semblance and, keeping the album review as it is, I think it's good at the 8th slot, but on any given day, it could be number 1. I just want to say that. So, Flesh to Fill Your Wounds. Let's get into a little bit of that breakdown, boy, and give it a listen.
I'm running out of flesh to fill your wounds. Why did you bring me back down?
Oh, so good. I want to listen to the rest of the song, but I ain't trying to get demonetized, so big salutes to YouTube. But yes, I absolutely dig this record. If you have not listened to Counterparts, you need to listen to this album. No cap, 100%. Just listen to it. It's worth it. Big facts. We're going to move it on to the next one, which is maybe a surprise to some people, but I absolutely loved Destroy Rebuild's newest album, Destroy Rebuild. They're self-titled. I guess it's Destroy Rebuild. It says from Destroy Rebuild. I don't know if that's the case. Whatever the album title is, go check it out. This band is... I loved their first album a ton. Listened to that so I can't even tell you how many times I had listened to that album. That album is just like a goated record to me. But this album might be a little bit better, to be fair. Like I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. I do feel like this new album might be that much better. I think that Craig Owens still sounds fantastic. He has not missed a beat whatsoever. And this album is just great. It's heavy, it's melodic. Shit, I can't even put this album into words. It's so good, and it just rings nostalgia to me. It might be nostalgia glasses a little bit, but I do feel like Craig Owens is one of those like emo acts that I don't know. He just does a great job of doing his shit. So big salutes to Craig. But yeah, this Destroy Rebuild Until God Shows album is so good. The song that I have chosen for you guys tonight is The Arm, which is the last song, and I believe I have chosen the last part of the bridge, which is a wild piece of this song. So I'm going to give you a little 10-second clip of this one. But yeah, I don't think this was on a lot of people's lists, and not going to lie, it's a little bit weird that it's not on anybody's list, because this was a heavily slept on album, and absolutely just listen to this album so much within the past couple months, and ever since it released, it's just been on repeat. And Craig Owens, just a wild man, fantastic. But I'll give you a little snippet of The Arm just for fun. Like, who has a high range like that other than like Kellen Quinn or like Vic Fuentes? You know, like, I don't know, man. I think it's great. I guess like Michael Swank does also have like a pretty high voice, but I can see why people may not like this album, because I feel like Craig Owens' voice is a very specific voice. You either like it or you don't like it. I've always been a big Chiodos fan. I've loved Drugs, but I think that this album is Earthbound and Hopeless said Destroy Rebuild's new album above Counterparts is nutty, so I'll have to give it a good listening to. I now that I think about it, it's a little bit strange, but I love this album. I think that I had given this a lot more runtime than I did the Counterparts album. And that is not to discount the Counterparts album, because I feel like, again, all of these albums that are coming up right now, I have just eviscerated the time blocks on these. I have listened to them so many times. But yeah, this album I think is very true to form of what Drugs does, and in fact I think they've done it even better with this album somehow. They just have taken the time off and just crafted some of the best material that they've put out in years. So big salutes to Craig Owens. He's fantastic, and would love to have Craig on Drugs. I would love to have you on. I don't know if that's possible, but it'd be monumental for me. So Earthbound says, haven't listened to Craig in years. That's how I felt, but God, it was just like riding a bike, man. It was so good. So I had to give this album some love because it was so good. So big salutes to Destroy Rebuild for putting out a fantastic album. But the next one on my list here is going to be the Devil Wears Prada. I don't have it on here, so now I have to go look for it. Big salutes to me. I really screwed up. So you're gonna take a look at my YouTube stuff, but I did not. I don't think I put it on here. Oh man. But the song, as you can see me type in, is Salt. That one was by far my favorite of the Devil Wears Prada songs. I think that it just really worked. And I'm just going to skip like 15 minutes ahead. I don't even know where I'm going to be slot-wise on this, but it's okay because it is a fantastic album. If you have not listened to the Devil Wears Prada Color Decay, I would say that this one is, again, a fantastic Prada record. I would say it's the best modern Prada record. Definitely dig it. I'll be more prepared next. I hope so. This is the only fumble I've had for the entire stream, so I'll take it, because there's plenty of things that could have went wrong on this. But I think that's funnily enough, I think that's the only song I missed on here. I don't know how I did it, but it's the only one I missed. This one is Salt. The entire record is just from front to back an absolute masterpiece. I love Devil Wears Prada. I've no shame in saying how much I love this band. I did not love The Act as much as I did. Maybe I have to go back and listen to it, but this album is peak Prada for me, and rightfully on the list here. So we're gonna give Salt a little bit of a spin here, but I absolutely love Prada, and very excited that they are coming back because they're great.
I can never process what I'm feeling in my bones.
Like, man, it's just so vibey. It's heavy. It's got a great chorus. Mike sounds fantastic as a screamer. Not that I feel like there was a certain period where he wasn't just hidden for me personally, but God, I love this band so much. This was like, if I can go find the shirt, I have like a very old With Roots Above Branches Below shirt, like the OGs. If you know kind of a thing. But yeah, I have some OG Prada merch, and God, I love them so much. I think this album just is like eons ahead of what they're doing right now, and I feel like Zombie 2 was just such a great precursor to this album, and if you haven't listened to Zombie 2, would highly recommend giving that a listen. But this is just like the next step up, and rightfully in the almost top 5, because shit, it's just a fantastic record. Earthbound says Prada is a big step up for me too. From their past few releases, did not vibe hard with what they were doing, but this one hits a little different, even though it's similar. I would agree. I think the last album, at least the last Prada album that stuck out to me was I think it was Transit Blues. That was kind of like the last one where I was like, okay, they're really doing some cool shit. I will say an honorable mention, Space EP, that was also really good. But I do feel like everything that they've done thus far within the past like year or two, I think they've really done it well. Earthbound says, I forgot about Zombie 2. I exclude that one from my list of meh. I would agree. I think that one again was very true to form to Prada. Again, glad they're seeing a resurgence right now, and would hope to see them again soon. I have seen them so many times, but I love seeing Prada. They're one of those bands that I grew up listening to. They're probably one of the first bands that got me into the scene. So there again might be a little bit of bias in that aspect, but I think sonically they have grown so much over the years. But this just has this way of just touching the soul. And Cancer, gotta give an honorable mention to that song, because God, that one hits like a fucking truck. So big salutes to them. Love it. Megan's here. Big salutes to Megan. Salutes. She said, my lists were a lot more pop centric. I think that they have been over the past few years. I'll have to ask you on some of the great pop records that came out this year. But mine's kind of been a mix. I will be going through all of the list of albums that, if people have missed out, stick around to the end and I'll tell you the entire list. But the next one I have on my list, and we're breaking into the top 5, so this is how you know it's the real deal, the real McCoy here. But the next one I have on my list is Monument's newest album, In Stasis. The song I have selected tonight is Chimeran, the Chimeran. I put so much mileage on this album. Again, not a lot of people talked about this album, and I am kind of a little bit pissed off that no one really talked about this album, because I think it's great. Andy is I would argue Andy Sizek is in too many bands, but if he's putting out the quality, I don't really care. But I fucking love this album. So this was really, 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 really good. Just think that Andy is absolutely killing it. Scream-wise, his singing voice is so tight on this. This song is 8 minutes long, and it manages to keep my attention for that 8 minutes, which is pretty big deal. Not that I feel like I have an attention deficit disorder or something like that, but I do absolutely love this, though. It's so good, and wanted to give this some notice because I'm really into like the prog metalcore stuff, and this is just like peak shit right here. So we're gonna give you a little snippet of the Chimeran. So let's give it a listen. Like, oh, the riffing, so sick. As well as I believe they went with Mick Gordon, who did the Doom soundtrack. Big salutes to Mick Gordon. But sounds super thick, super heavy, and everything that I love about a good progressive metalcore album. So definitely go give Monuments a listen if you haven't already. Well worth your time, and this album is well worth your listen if you haven't given it a listen at all. Getting back to the comments here, Earthbound said, my number one artist listened to on Spotify was Kendrick Lamar. Very cool. I did not listen to the new album, but I heard it was very good. So big salutes to Kendrick. And then he said number 2 was The Algorithm. Nice juxtaposition. I have not heard of The Algorithm, so I'll have to check them out. Megan said my top few albums of the year did end up being pop punk bands, though. No surprise there. Very cool. Definitely we'll talk about some of these other bands here that are a little bit closer on the list. And Earthbound, yes, I kind of had an idea of what you were getting at, so I'm glad I could read in between the lines a little bit. But yes, absolutely love Monuments. Big salutes to them. I think they put out a really banging record, and well deserved in the top 5, because I put so much time into this album, whether it be like driving, at the gym, wherever. I had just listened to this a lot, so love Monuments. So go give this one a love if you haven't. It's honestly replacing my love of Tesseract. I'm still waiting for the new Tesseract album. Hoping, fingers crossed, 2023. I did see some hints that they are going to be releasing an album, so you already know they're going to be on albums of the year list. They're always up there for me. But the next one I have on the list might surprise some people because it's not number 1, and it is Bill Murray's newest album, Goblin Hours. I have put this at number 4. The song I have chosen for you guys to listen to is The Void Approacheth, featuring Summer Hoop. This album, I will say, upon an original listen, I liked it a lot. I didn't think at the time it was the best Murray record to release. I still think Banana holds the crown for me in terms of Murray releases. Either that or his previous one, 400 Pound Back Squat. I really enjoyed that one too. But this album, so diverse, so different. I love the opportunities and the chances that he took on this song. I also love that they did a thick version of another song on the album that features Will Ramos of the band Lorna Shore. Also might surprise some people that I don't have Lorna Shore on this list. But I know it's a great album, so you don't have to tell me it's a good one. But I loved Goblin Hours. I still want to hold true and say that I don't think it's the best Murray record, but I think it is just a fantastic record. If you're into a bunch of different genres, then this is absolutely the album to listen to, because there's some pop, there's some heaviness to it, there's some like R&B and like soul kind of vibes. They have like a K-pop singer on one of the songs. It's just like an absolute, the only way that I can really describe that album to you is it's a clusterfuck. It is absolutely the most crazy shit you can think about in an album, but it's so good, and I'm so glad it's higher up on here. But I love Bill Murray so much. Most people know I am just a Bill Murray stan, but this album was so good, and I think The Void Approacheth is the best song because it mixes that like heaviness that I know from Bill Murray with like a lot of great like pop and electronic influence as well. So definitely give this one a listen. I'm going to give you a little snippet of The Void Approacheth, so you can vibe out with me in the chorus here.
I'm breathing, but I still feel high. I spend my nights trying to let go.
Oh, I wish I could have played the breakdown for you, but it's so good. Everything this man does is so talented to me. I don't know. I might be a simp for Bill Murray, but I don't really care because I love his music so much. So big salutes to Bill Murray. Earthbound said, I've always loved that about Bill Murray. I would agree. I think he finds a way of incorporating just different sounds so well without straying away from like what I know about his music and what he creates. So big salutes to Bill Murray. Again, this could very well be number one on any given day, but I do feel like, there might be some slightly better albums here on the list here. So the third one that I have, we're getting close to the end, guys, so thank you guys for sticking it out here. I loved going through this albums of the year, and definitely let me know down in the comments or in the live chat what your favorite releases were, because definitely have to give some albums some listen, so definitely let me know on that. The third pick, I was going to say the last pick, but it's not. The third pick I have for you guys is Avoid's newest album, Cult Mentality. The song I have chosen for you is Whatever. Do not mind this screen here. The YouTube screen I got a terrible frame here. But loved this album. I got to see Avoid live this year, which, again, fantastic live band. If you have not checked them out, great stuff. I did do not to show for myself, but I did do a live set of them, so go check that out. But I think this is, ironically enough, playing fun at like metalcore and the different tropes within metalcore, but then ironically sounding like a very good metalcore album as a whole. And I think that that's great because I think they absolutely nail it on the head. And once I realized it was kind of like a larger metaphor to metalcore music in general, that's when all the gears were clicking. So there is no way that Avoid would not make it here on the list, because I just fucking put this album into the ground. I had listened to this so much, and it's so good. So big salutes to Avoid. Loved having them on the interview. Also loved doing a live set with them as well. And they're going to be a band to be taking a look out for in New Year if you haven't already. Earthbound said, I knew you would have had Avoid in your top 3. There's no doubt. It's the album's so good. I would have definitely picked Gatorfest as one of the other songs to check out, but I feel like Whatever is like the best mix of what's going on here. But honestly, if you listen to any of the songs on Cult Mentality, you're going to absolutely fucking love this album, because I do. And that's not necessarily a point on anybody else to not love it as well. I also hope you love it, but this album is just peak to me. So we're going to give you a little snippet of Whatever. So I think this is the chorus, I believe. So let's give it a listen. Oh, so good. I love it. Absolutely. Maggot McGee. What a great name. What albums did we miss? We'll rewatch later. Either way, though, thank you. Big salutes, Maggot McGee. You missed a lot. I'm on the second to last one, so we're getting into the top 2 right now. I'm curious if people can kind of guess. I don't think anybody's gonna guess number 1. I do feel like people might. I think people might actually get 2. Might guess 2. I'm very curious if someone can pick out my number 2, but without me telling it. But yes, go check out Avoid. God, this album is so great. I'm surprised, again, not enough people check this one out, because it is well worth your time. If you are a metalcore stan, much like myself, you're gonna love it. It's got ass beaters. It's got fucking breakdowns. It's got pop like metalcore bangers. It's got everything you can imagine in one metalcore album, just smushed together. It's great. And honestly, I think a lot of the reason as well of enjoying this album so much was all the guys in Avoid are so wholesome as a clan. I love them as people, and I do really genuinely hope that this band does well, because I've been a fan of Avoid for quite a long time when they released their first album Alone, and I've just been following their journey, and they just only have been getting better with time. They're like a fine wine, so big salutes to them. Love Avoid, and there was no doubt this album wouldn't have ended up on my list. It's big facts. Number 2. Anyone have any guesses? I'm just curious. I feel like people know me well enough, they might know what my second favorite album is. If not, I'm just gonna move on. I don't think anybody's gonna guess. So my second favorite album of the year is Greyhaven, This Bright and Beautiful World. What a masterclass in like metalcore and like hardcore music. Every song on this album is just heat. Fed to the Light is the song that I have chosen for you guys to listen to tonight, but all of them are so good. I think they have capitalized on Empty Black in such a way. I still love Empty Black, that I think very similarly to what I said about Thornhill's Dark Pool. I feel like this album is like pretty close to peak in terms of like front to back. I can listen to the entire thing. I will also say as well, Empty Black is again another flawless album for me as well. But everything that this band does is just really fantastic. I think that they are just a heavily slept on band, and I am trying to just spread the gospel of Greyhaven every single day of my life, because they just have a great mix of heaviness. They got some great melodicness as well. The last song in the album, so vibey, so beautiful. The first song on the album, just an ass beater. For an Anchor, kind of a mix between the two, but there was no way that this band would not be on my list whatsoever. I think this could easily be my favorite album of the year, but I'm almost positive that I put Empty Black as my favorite album of the year when that album released. So, not that I kept the number 1 slot as like, a safe haven for them only exclusively, but, just love what they're doing. And I had the wonderful privilege of interviewing Brent, and he, big salutes, sent me Cult America on vinyl. So, I don't want to say that they had any bias in that aspect, because it definitely didn't, but they put out a fantastic album. And again, surprised not too many. I don't think there was a lot of people that had this on their list. So I think it's great. Arguably one of the best records to come out this year, certainly on my end here. But yeah, Earthbound said Greyhaven. You guessed correctly. It was like the time delay in between the chat and all that sort of stuff. But yes, good number 2 spot. Wasn't sure if you already had them on your list. Great live band. Can't agree. Seen them a couple different times. I saw them up in a VFW hall in New Jersey, and then saw them on tour with Silent Planet just before the pandemic. And yeah, fantastic band, and also great bucket list to have Brent on the channel. Love talking to him, and it was like we've been friends for such a long time. So big salutes to Brent. Love you, man. But yeah, big salutes. Love those guys. All right. So Earthbound said sold out to Big Vinyl. Listen, man, I am sold out to Big Vinyl. I fucking love vinyl. I don't have any problem saying that. Maggie McGee says his favorite albums were Bad Omens. That was one album I didn't check out this year that I'm kind of pissed I didn't listen to that album. Dayseeker was on my list. Bill Murray, you just saw, was on my list. Rain City Drive was on my list. Void was on my list. Prada was on my list. Drugs was on my list. 1,000 Below I didn't include, and so I guess I'll talk about those two bands that I would have included on this list, but I didn't feel like I gave them enough time to really digest. 1,000 Below's newest album, I did not give enough time to listen to, so I didn't feel like it was fair to have them on a list that I didn't listen to them enough. And the other band, Despite Exile, they put out a fucking awesome record, and I feel like, again, did not give that album enough love. I did listen to it a ton when I did the live reaction review of the album, but I very similarly to Thousand Below, I feel like I would be doing a disservice to the bands that have released albums in January of this year. So definitely both great albums. Go give them a listen. And then Until I Wake, I had not listened to, so that's another one. I'll have to check that one out. I still need to check out this one. I've been hearing about it and loved Empty Black. Oh, this is the time. Maggie McGee, this is the time to listen. This is the here and now. That's when that's when I saw them live too. Oh, very cool. Love that. I kind of am a little bit pissed off. I should have seen them with Limbs, because that was a fantastic lineup. It was Greyhaven, Limbs, and Callous Cowboys, which is just a fucking insane lineup, and I'll never see it again. So I'm just going to revel in that. I never saw it, and that made me sad. So anyway, we're going to give Fed to the Light a little bit of a listen, so, Maggot McGee can, have a little taste, a little flavor here. So let's give it a listen. Oh, it's just so good. That's the ending too. Oh, it just slaps. Oh, so good. I love Greyhaven. If that's, wasn't clearly obvious enough. All right, guys. If you have made it to the end, thank you for watching this live with me. I have been going live for a little over an hour and a half now. So if you've watched the entire thing, big salutes to you. If you have not, hopefully you'll rewind it and check out the whole thing. I will leave my comprehensive list in the description once it goes live and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to reveal my, true list, even though, again, I'm probably going to talk about it at the end anyway. So if you've made it to the end, love you. Thank you for watching. But yeah, I really loved going through these lists this year. It was great, and big salutes to all the bands doing some really fantastic work, and very excited for 2023. There's some really great bands on the list that are already planning on releasing albums, and couldn't be more stoked for this year's list here, or next year's, in 2023. Earthbound says they make me miss exotic animal petting zoos. Who made you? I need some context. There's not enough context in that question there. But the last thing, guys. So, albums of the year. The number one pick for me this year might surprise most people, as well as I don't think anybody really knows about this band too much. So, I'm hoping that because this album is number one, that every one of you will go check this out, because it's a sleeper record. And I'd argue one of the coolest albums to come out. Oh, that's the band. Oh my God. I didn't know that was the band's name. Holy shit. That's wild. I can't even. Now I'm. That's great. But anyway, this album, I know no one has on their list. I can guarantee you no one has this on this list. And it doesn't make me, I don't want to sound like a fucking hipster, but I love this album. This is a front to back beautiful album, and it had to be number one for me. As soon as I started listening to it, I listened to their EP that they originally released. That was fantastic, and I feel like they've capitalized on it so much more with this full length here. So, my number one pick, guys. I know you're on the edge of your seats, and I appreciate that. Either realistically or metaphorically, that's what I'm going to believe it is. But my number one pick is Super Love's newest album, Colors. My God. This band is fucking sick. They have. I just want to lay some groundwork for you guys, because people are gonna be like, "Why the fuck would you put this album at number one?" First of all of these songs have a very unique style to them, so you either may like them or you might not like them. I hope that you will like them, because they're awesome. But the guitar player uses a baritone guitar. For those who maybe aren't familiar with baritone guitars, they thick, they got the chunk. So love that. They infuse a lot of great elements of electronic music into their sound. Some might say a little bit of hyperpop elements as well. On top of that, they have two vocalists, and the drumming on this album is a little bit proggy, and musically it's a little bit pop, but also like heavy. So I kind of put them in like a heavy pop category if I had to really narrow it down. But my favorite song, and the song that I would recommend to everybody to check out is "I Wanna Love You," which I think is arguably one of the best songs on the album. Though I do love all of the songs on this album specifically. This was really great, and I think that I think that this album specifically is a banger and a half, and I need you guys to listen to this one. Earthbound says they sent you 2 vinyls for the number 1 spot. I haven't even heard of this band or album. Well, funnily enough, I do have it on vinyl. No, but they didn't send it to me. I bought this with my own hard-earned money, but it took forever. There you go. So for people who won't believe that I actually got the album, I did buy it. So big salutes to me. I know most people are going to be shocked. I know most people are going to be in awe that this album is number 1. Why would Brandon put this album at number 1 when you haven't even listened to it? So I'm going to play a little clip, a little 10-second clip of "I Wanna Love You." Honestly, I know that most people may or may not check this out. I honestly hope that more people do check it out because I think it's really great. They also released a deluxe version this year as well with 2 other songs that I have to listen to. But, oh, man, this is such a ride musically, and I think that it's one album that has just stuck with me the entire, the most of the year. I think it came out in, April, I'm pretty sure. And this album has just been with me for that entire bit. And I was patiently awaiting this album. Want to give a salutes to Rude Records. They are a fantastic record label in the UK, and this is great. I wanted to love you, and you did that. Okay? Listen, I'm gonna play this song, and I hope y'all hate me in the comments. That's all I'm gonna say. So I'm gonna give you a little 10-second clip of this song.
I wanna love you, but I don't know where I'm supposed to start. I like the chase, but sometimes it just goes away too far.
Oh my god, it sounds sick. I love it. I don't know. All of you can listen. This is my list, all right? So I don't see anybody else. I don't see anybody else. Well, actually, that's not true. There's a lot of people that makes albums of the year list, but I love this album so much. Enough to buy it, all right? And I mean, I buy a lot of my albums, so to be fair, I don't want to discount it, but God, this album is so good. I love it. I love this album so much. This isn't me trying to shill for Super Love, but I genuinely feel like they do a great job of mixing pop and heavy music together. And since I've been getting a lot more into pop music, I think that this album has just slapped for me. I think that they just hit all of the right notes. And while I know people might be surprised that Greyhaven took a second slot to this album, I just think that this has just a great arc. It's a great movie from start to finish. You get track 1, which is politely named 1, and then it goes to Save Yourself, which is a fucking banger, and Riff City, we love it. World of Wonder has got this really great synthy kind of pop influence as well. Then you get Maybe I Could Tell You, which is this really kind of cheeky sort of pop song. and it works super well with what they're doing. I love the fact that there's just two vocalists and they just bounce off each other. Then you get this rager of a track, I Wanna Love You, which is also fantastic. Then you get Baby Bird, which is another sleeper song, and it's got this really cool like ethereal kind of beat to it, and then you get to the chorus and it just smacks you dead in the face. Then you get hashtag 639063D, which I think is actually the colors on the album. Mind blowing, I know. And then you get the actual title track of the song, Colors. Then that one's an absolute great song. Best Friend, another heater song. I don't know what to tell you guys. It is just a great pop, like rock record, and I know there's probably gonna be a lot of hate, but I genuinely love this album so much, and I think that there was no way it could not be number one for me. I have listened to this album so many times up until recording this. I even listened to it today because just to kind of solidify that this was going to be number one, this was going to be the pick. But I have no regrets. I think that this is a sleeper album, certainly, considering that I don't think anybody has heard of this band outside of the UK area. But yeah, I love them so much, and I felt like this one had to be number one. So big salutes to Super Love, Colors. Go check that one out. Go check out all of them on the list here, but more specifically Super Love, because I don't feel like anybody has listened to this band. So I wanted to not even that I wanted to make them number one. They just were number one to me right out the gate. So big Super Love for Super Love. But my albums of the year list, we're going to go down the list here. You obviously heard number one. That was Super Love, Colors. Number 2 is Grey Havens, This Bright and Beautiful World. Number 3 is Avoid, Cult Mentality. Number 4 is Bill Murray's Goblin Hours. Number 5 is Monuments in Stasis. Number 6 is The Devil Wears Prada, Color Decay. Number 7 is Destroy Rebuild Until God Shows, and their album Destroy Rebuild. I would also say number 8 is Counterparts, A Eulogy for Those Still Here. Not track number 9. Album number 9 pick for me is Thornhill Heroin. Number 10 is Action Adventure Imposter Syndrome. Definitely a band to check out if you haven't. Glad they made top 10. Pick number 11 is Outline and Colors, Coast is Clear. Another fantastic metalcore record. Go give that a listen. Slot 12 was Ocean's 8 Alaska, Disparity. Slot number 13, sorry, I thought my cat was hanging out over here. Slot number 13 was Mood Ring, Stargazer. Great band. Go give them some love too. Slot number 14 was He Is Legend, Endless Hallway. Slot 15 is Cold Rain, Non-Negative. Great album as well. Underrated J-rock band. Go give them some love. Number 16, The Gloom in the Corner, Trinity. Fantastic metalcore record. If you're really into lore and like storyline, perfect album to give a listen to. Number 17, Static Dress, Rogue Carpet Disaster. Great post-hardcore band from the UK. Go give them some love. Slot number 18 is Modern Error, Victim of a Modern Age. Again, another sick band that I know most of you have not heard of. Great kind of, if you've ever wondered if they could put more electronics into an underoath song, that is what Modern Error is. So go give them some love. Number 19 was Boundaries, Burying Brightness. Dumb, stupid, heavy record that makes you go oonga boonga. So go give them that. I couldn't even say it with a straight face. That was great. Go give that some love. And then slot 20 was Enoch's Euphoria. Great progressive metalcore band from they used to hail from New Jersey, and now I believe they hail from Atlanta, Georgia now. So very cool. My honorable mentions were the Callous Boys, Celebrity Therapist. at the number 1 honorable mentions. The number 2 slot for honorable mentions was Valley Heart, Heal My Head. Great indie rock band. If you have not checked them out, go give them some love. Slot 3 was Dayseeker, Dark Moon. Slot 4 was Rain City Drive, their self-titled album, and then the final slot of the honorable mentions was Secret's newest album, The Collapse. So that was my comprehensive list of albums of the year. I'm sure there are tons of albums that I missed out on, as I do every year, but I loved all of these albums, not equally obviously, to list them out, but I will say that arguably the top 10 is pretty interchangeable. I just know that a lot of people are probably more familiar with, the Grey Havens or the Counterparts or the Devil Wears Pradas. And those were great albums, don't get me wrong. But if you really want an interesting variety, I would definitely recommend checking out Super Love. I know that this might not fit in most people's categories, especially considering that a large majority of my fan base is more into the heavier music, but I absolutely just dug this album, so please go give it some listen. It's well worth your time. Earthbound said, I would say this number 1 slot is definitely an album of all time. If you go and give it a listen, I would love to know. Please listen to Colors, and I need you to comment on this video and let me know what you actually think about it. Like, no joke. I would love to hear what people think about it. I want to be blowing smoke up their ass, but I genuinely feel like it's such a great record. Earthbound said as well, Valley Heart was in my top list for sure. I would agree. I think that it just came at a wrong time, but I think that Valley Heart, big salutes to them. They put out a fantastic record, and I really honestly wish I gave it a little bit more love, because I think it would have made it higher up on the list. But I think, honestly, looking back at my list, it's got a great amount of variety to it, so I hope there's a little something for everybody there. Megan said Super Love was a contender of mine for sure for a while. One of my top 10 was actually on the indie/alternative side, actually. Oh, very cool. So, look, see Earthbound, there's other people that like Super Love. I'm not crazy. Though I understand it's not a normal pick that you would expect people to pick. I thought most people probably would have thought that I would have liked the new Lorna Shore album, which no discretion to the Lorna Shore album, that was awesome. I just feel like, again, did not have enough time to really listen to it and give it the respect it deserves. But yeah, this list was fun. It's always fun every year. I know that there's going to be some on there that people have listened to, and I also know that there's also some that are going to be on there that people don't people that there's always going to be a band that people don't know, and I hope that my list is a good mix of both bands that are more well known within the scene and some that aren't. So I always try to find a good middle ground between that, and it's not intentional. It's just that I know that there's some albums that hit a little bit harder and are going to be higher up on some people's lists and lower on other people's lists, so it all works out. Megan said, didn't realize I said that actually twice. That's hilarious. That's great. Earthbound said, I give you my dig on it for I feel like I'm waiting for people to come back to this video and be like, I don't really feel like you should have had Super Love at number 1, but it's okay. It's a grave I'll rest in. But yeah, let me know down below what your favorite albums are this year. I want to give a massive salute to all the great bands that work with me this year. Honestly, this was probably my most successful year doing YouTube. Not that I really kind of measure the metrics on how I do things, but it's just been an incredible year of not only like reviewing albums, but as well as just having bands on the channel, and bands that I genuinely didn't think I was going to have the opportunity to interview. So for me, this was just a fantastic year, and I'm hoping to continue on with just some really great some really great releases next year and great opportunities, and I know that they certainly are there, and hoping to just get bigger and bigger every year. And honestly, I would be doing this to no one and still have all the love in my heart for it. So really appreciate any person that has stuck with me and has done this for as long. I think it's also probably for the sheer fact that, and I know I've mentioned it a lot in my interviews, so I'll probably stop doing it after this point, but I'm turning 30 next year, and I feel like looking back on doing YouTube for like 3/4 of my 20s, I wouldn't trade it for a day in my life. It's just been a fantastic year for just audio addiction, and it just makes me feel more grateful for the people that have really supported me and really give a shit about what I do, because certainly I wouldn't have been doing it as long if I didn't have all the support from every one of you guys, whether you came and found out about my channel today or you found out about my channel like 5 or 6 years ago, or longer. So thank you guys for being there, supporting what I do. It's never goes unnoticed, so thank you so much, and I hope all of you have a wonderful New Year's. This will be probably the final video of the year, at least for 2020. 2022, I can't even fucking get my dates right. This is the last video of 2022. I love all of you very much, and I'm very excited to see you all in 2023. So thank you for watching. Again, let me know down below what your favorites are this year, and if you have a favorite moment of the channel, would love to know as well. Thank you for Megan and Earthbound for joining me on this episodic journey here of picking my albums of the year. Very cool. Earthbound said you had some banger interviews this year for sure. The Artificials, the Moxie were a couple of my favorites. Oh, thank you very much. You know what? Listen, it was a pleasure interviewing both of those bands. I'll give a salute to the Artificials certainly, because Alan really helped me find my guitar footing in my formative years. So I absolutely love those. I absolutely love Alan and what he's done, and how grateful he was to be a part of my channel, and how grateful I was to have him a part of my channel. It's so sick. I have literally an era flag like hanging up in my room here. So to me, that was just like a bucket list moment, and also interviewing Greyhaven was another really bucket list moment for me, as well as Secrets was fucking great too. There's so many really great moments, and I don't want to discount them at all. So big salutes to all the homies that were on here on the channel. Sentinels as well. Love talking to Dave. He's my boy. I just love him so much. He's great. He's the best. But yeah, please go check out all these bands. They're all awesome in their own right, and honestly, it's just been a great year for music, and I'm only hoping for great things here in 2023. I think there's going to be some really awesome releases. I've already kind of looked at what might be releasing next year, so and having an idea of what's coming out so I can be prepared, but there's some really good ones, so I'm very, very excited to delve into those. But guys, have a safe and healthy New Year's. Thank you to both, again, Earthbound and Megan, for joining me live here. But, as we do, we're going to be signing off. Much love. Hope all of you are going to be doing some great things and have a blessed life. But talk to you guys later, and see you in the next video in 2023. So thank you guys for watching. Peace out.